Don't forget to like the video, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe for more. Before I start, tell me where you are watching me from. I wonder which cities and towns will join me in this memory that completely changed my life. I remember the nights vividly, lying awake in a tiny apartment that felt smaller with every bill that came in. You know the feeling, you're working every hour you can, yet the numbers in your bank account never seem to grow. The rent is due, your student loans are gnawing at you, and you're just one unexpected expense away from panic. You feel trapped. I know because I lived it. Every coffee I skipped, every night out I said no to, every paycheck that disappeared before it even landed, none of it seemed to matter. You start to believe that financial freedom is for other people, not for someone like you. But here's the truth that changed everything for me: your mindset, the choices you make now, the actions you take, these are the keys. I realized that waiting for luck to strike, for some magical opportunity, was a trap. You can't sit around hoping life will hand you wealth. You have to design it, brick by brick. That's when I started asking myself the hard questions: what am I doing every day that's moving me closer to freedom? And more importantly, what habits are keeping me chained to struggle? The first step for me was brutal honesty with myself. You need to know where you stand financially before you can plan where you're going. I sat down one night with a pen, a notebook, and every piece of financial information I had. Bank statements, credit card debt, bills, subscriptions I barely used, I laid it all out. At first, it felt terrifying. Seeing the numbers in black and white made my stomach churn. You've probably been there too, pretending to ignore the creeping sense that you're behind. But here's the catch: denial is expensive. The moment you acknowledge your reality, you gain power. You stop being a victim of circumstances and start becoming the architect of your future. Next, I discovered the magic of small, intentional changes. You don't have to make giant leaps overnight. You can't. But you can create tiny habits that compound over time. I started by cutting out one thing that was silently draining me: in my daily coffee shop habit. It was only $5 a day, but $5 multiplied by 30 days became $150. I redirected that money toward building a tiny emergency fund. It wasn't glamorous, and it didn't feel like wealth, but it was the first step. And here's what you need to know: momentum matters more than perfection. Every small win adds up, and before you know it, you're seeing results you once thought impossible. I also had to confront the story I was telling myself about money. You know the one, the story that says, I'm not lucky, I'm not smart enough, financial freedom isn't for people like me. That voice is a liar, and it thrives on fear. I started replacing it with a different narrative: I am capable. I can learn. I can take control of my finances and create opportunities that last a lifetime. You need to do the same. Speak to yourself with clarity, energy, and belief. Your mind will follow your words, and your actions will follow your mind. Point one of the biggest shifts came when I stopped thinking about money as something to spend and started thinking about it as a tool to create freedom. Every dollar I earned was a soldier in my army, each one capable of building the life I wanted. I started learning about investing, compound interest, and smart spending. I realized that you don't need to be rich to invest, but you do need to be consistent and patient. That was my turning point, understanding that freedom isn't about luck, it's about strategy. At this stage, the fear of failure was still there. You know it gnaws at the back of your mind when you try something new, when you dare to imagine a life beyond your current paycheck. But fear isn't a stop sign, it's a signal. It tells you where growth is waiting. I started experimenting with side hustles, with small online ventures, with freelance gigs I'd never thought I could handle. Some failed spectacularly, some barely made a dime, but each failure taught me something priceless. You will fail too, and that's okay. Every lesson is a brick in the path toward financial freedom. I want you to picture this: you, standing at the edge of your current life, looking out at a horizon filled with possibility. You might feel overwhelmed, but that's normal. Growth always feels uncomfortable at first. You begin to take steps every single day, tracking your spending, cutting unnecessary expenses, learning how to make your money work for you, not against you. You start to feel a glimmer of control, a spark that maybe, just maybe, you can turn things around. That spark is the start of transformation. That spark is the promise of freedom, and then one day, it hits you. The moment when you realize that what seemed impossible is slowly becoming inevitable. You see your savings grow, your debt shrink, your mindset sharpen, and your confidence skyrocket. You begin to understand that wealth isn't about a big win or a lucky break, it's about a series of intentional choices, each one stacking on top of the other. That's when I knew, if I could do this, anyone could. And that's when I started to write down what became my guide, my roadmap, the 10 steps to financial freedom before 30. But before I dive into the exact steps, let's pause for a moment and reflect. You've felt the weight of struggle, the fear of never catching up, the exhaustion of watching life pass by while your bank account stays stagnant. That's the starting line. And now, you're ready to run the race. Ready to take control. Ready to see that life on the other side of struggle isn't a dream, it's a reality waiting for you to claim it. The journey ahead isn't always easy, and you'll have to fight, adapt, and push harder than ever before. But if you commit, if you embrace change, if you act with purpose and energy, your future self will thank you. You will feel freedom not just in your bank account, but in your mind, in your confidence, in the life you build. And it all begins with the first step, recognizing your power and deciding that struggle is no longer your story. Every day after that night in my tiny apartment, I became obsessed with learning how to grow, save, and invest. I talked to people who were doing it, I read relentlessly, I experimented with different approaches, and I celebrated the tiny wins. And little by little, month by month, year by year, the impossible started to feel possible. You'll get there too. You just have to take the first step, then the next, until one day you look back and see that the person who once worried about rent and bills is now planning a life of freedom, choice, and abundance. The spark I felt that night became a fire, a relentless drive to never settle, never give up, and never stop learning. And now, I want to take you with me, step by step, through the journey that transformed my life, so you can create your own. That's where we're headed, the 10 steps to financial freedom before 30. Each step is a building block, a piece of the puzzle that will take you from surviving paycheck to thriving with control, wealth, and choice. It starts here, it starts now, and it starts with you deciding that struggle is no longer an option. You are capable, you are ready, and the path to freedom is waiting for you. After the first spark of realization, I knew I couldn't just drift along hoping for luck to rescue me. You see, determination isn't born overnight, it's forged in the trenches of frustration and failure. I remember mornings when my alarm went off and I felt the weight of every unpaid bill pressing down on me. You've been there too, haven't you? That moment when your mind races through every possible disaster, and yet, somehow, you force yourself to act. That's when the shift begins, the moment you choose action over despair. I started small, but I aimed strategically. Step 1 was creating a crystal clear vision of my financial future. You need to visualize it, really feel it. Not just vague ideas of I want to be rich, but specifics, the house you want, the vacations, the freedom to make choices without hesitation. I wrote it all down on a vision board, on sticky notes around my apartment, even in my phone's notes app. Every morning, I read it aloud, imprinting it into my subconscious. Your mind is powerful, and when you train it to expect abundance, it begins to see opportunities that others overlook. And next, I tackled the chaos in my spending. You probably know the trap, little expenses that seem harmless, fast food lunches, subscriptions you barely use, impulsive online shopping. I created a budget, not a restrictive one that drains your morale, but a roadmap that told every dollar where to go. And here's the key, the money you save isn't just extra, it's fuel for your future. I opened a separate savings account and started depositing every penny I could spare. The first $100 saved felt like a victory, and that feeling is addictive. It's the beginning of proving to yourself that control is possible, but saving alone wasn't enough. I needed my money to work for me, not just sit in a bank. That's when I discovered the world of investments. At first, I was terrified, stocks, ETFs, compound interest, words that sounded foreign and intimidating. But the more I learned, the more I realized that waiting for perfect timing is a trap. You have to start somewhere, even if it's small. I started with modest investments, learning as I went, watching my money slowly grow. You'll be surprised how empowering it feels to see your wealth start to accumulate, no matter how small the numbers at first. The side hustles came next. You've got skills, maybe talents you never thought could pay the bills, or even bring you freedom. I tapped into mine. Freelancing, selling products online, taking on small projects. I treated each gig like a stepping stone, not a side distraction. Some days were exhausting, some weeks felt endless, but every extra dollar added to my momentum. Here's a secret: when you combine side income with disciplined saving and smart investing, you create leverage. That leverage is the engine of wealth. Around this time, I started noticing a difference, not just in my bank account, but in my mindset. Stress didn't vanish completely, but fear lost its grip. Confidence replaced hesitation. You know that feeling when you finally understand that you have the power to shape your life? That's transformative. You begin to see setbacks as lessons, not dead ends. You begin to plan long-term because you trust your ability to execute the plan. That's where true financial freedom begins, not just money in the account, but mastery over your actions, emotions, and choices. I also learned to surround myself with the right people. You can't grow alone. I sought mentors, joined online communities, and engaged with people who were on a similar path or had already achieved what I aspired to. Their insights were priceless, their encouragement contagious. And here's the part most people miss: your network doesn't just support you emotionally, it opens doors you didn't even know existed. You'll start noticing opportunities showing up in conversations, in casual advice, even in unexpected emails, and then, one morning, I had an epiphany that changed everything. I realized that all these efforts, the budgeting, the investing, the side hustles, the mentorships, weren't just habits. They were stepping stones on a path to something bigger. That's when the idea of 10 steps to financial freedom before 30 crystallized. It wasn't a distant dream anymore, it was a blueprint I could follow, refine, and apply. Each step built on the previous one, creating a momentum so strong that financial freedom didn't seem like a possibility, it seemed inevitable. But here's the thing: this isn't a story about luck or privilege. It's about decisions. Every day, I made choices that moved me forward, and yes, some days I stumbled, but I never stopped. You can do the same. You have the power to transform your financial future starting today. Begin with clarity, take control of your money, learn relentlessly, and create additional income streams. Each step, no matter how small, compounds into life-changing results. I started feeling something I hadn't felt in years: freedom. Not the flashy kind you see on social media, but the real kind. Freedom to choose, freedom to say no to things that don't serve me, freedom to plan for tomorrow without anxiety. You can feel it too, but only if you commit. The transformation isn't instantaneous, it's a journey, a series of deliberate actions that add up over time. By this point, my life was already changing. I could see my debt shrinking, my savings growing, and my confidence soaring. I wasn't yet financially free, but I had built momentum. And that momentum is everything. It carries you past the doubts, past the fear, past the moments when quitting seems easier than trying. I want you to imagine that feeling, the first real taste of control, the spark of hope that you can, in fact, build a life of wealth and freedom before 30. That's what awaits on the other side of these 10 steps. And here's the truth: the steps themselves aren't secrets. They are practical, actionable, and applicable by anyone willing to commit. Budget strategically. Save relentlessly. Invest intelligently. Build multiple income streams. Shift your mindset. Surround yourself with mentors. Learn continuously. Embrace failure. Take bold action. Stay consistent. Combine these actions, and you unlock doors you didn't even know existed. That realization hit me like lightning. It was the turning point where theory became practice, where struggle became strategy, and where fear transformed into determination. From that moment on, I wasn't just surviving, I was building a future. A future that anyone, including you, can create if you choose to follow the path, embrace the lessons, and commit to the process. By the time I reached the next stage, something had shifted inside me. The fear that had once felt like a constant shadow was now a distant memory, replaced by clarity and purpose. You felt that too, haven't you? The moment when the haze of struggle begins to clear, and suddenly, the path forward looks possible. I realized then that building wealth isn't about working harder, it's about working smarter, and it's about building habits that stick. I started analyzing my day-to-day actions with ruthless honesty. Every hour had to serve a purpose. Wasted time became my enemy, and intentional effort became my ally. I created a schedule, blocking time for work, learning, investing, and side hustles. At first, it felt rigid and uncomfortable, but within weeks, the structure itself became liberating. You feel in control when your actions align with your goals, and that control is a kind of freedom most people never experience. Point 1 of the most transformative lessons came from tracking progress meticulously. You might think that numbers only matter in your bank account, but tracking every aspect of your financial life, from income and expenses to investment returns and net worth, creates accountability. I would check my numbers daily, celebrate small wins, and course correct when things weren't working. You know that feeling when you see the tiny dots on a graph slowly climb upward? That's the psychological fuel that keeps momentum alive. Each small gain becomes a powerful motivator to push harder, to plan smarter, and to stay consistent even when life throws curveballs. I also embraced a mindset shift that changed everything. Instead of seeing challenges as obstacles, I started seeing them as opportunities. A missed client payment? An invitation to diversify my income streams. Unexpected expenses? A prompt to improve my budget and build a stronger emergency fund. You'll find that the moment you start framing setbacks as lessons, not failures, your resilience skyrockets. Fear and doubt shrink when your mind begins to see opportunities where others only see problems. Around this time, I began focusing heavily on personal growth. You cannot grow your wealth without growing yourself. I read books on finance, psychology, and entrepreneurship. I listened to podcasts that challenged my assumptions and expanded my vision. I engaged in conversations with people who were ahead of me on the journey, learning from their successes and failures alike. Knowledge became a tool of leverage, and the more I absorbed, the more confident I became in making informed decisions. You can do the same, starting with just 30 minutes a day dedicated to learning and reflection. The side hustles that once felt like experiments now became strategic investments in my future. I experimented with freelancing, online sales, and even small digital products. Each venture taught me something new: how to market myself, how to negotiate, how to scale. Some days were exhausting, and some ventures failed completely, but the wins, no matter how small, were proof that consistent effort compounds. That's a lesson you must internalize. Success rarely comes overnight, but it comes if you keep building, keep learning, and keep pushing. It was during this period that I began to fully embrace the 10 steps to financial freedom before 30, not just as theory, but as a daily roadmap. Step by step, I applied the principles: budgeting, saving, investing, side hustling, mindset transformation, learning, networking, and so on. Each step reinforced the others, creating a synergy that felt unstoppable. You'll notice the same when you start implementing these steps. You begin to see progress in ways you never imagined possible. I remember vividly the day when I first looked at my finances and realized that I had more control than I'd ever had before. My emergency fund was solid, my debts were shrinking, my investments were growing, and my side hustles were bringing in steady cash. I felt a surge of confidence, a feeling that I could finally design my life rather than react to it. You want that feeling too, the day when you no longer fear the bills, the debt, or the unexpected expenses because you've built systems to handle them. That's what true freedom feels like. But even with progress, discipline remained crucial. There were still moments when temptation crept in: splurges, distractions, opportunities to revert to old habits. I learned to create guardrails around my actions: automatic savings, scheduled learning, and clear goals for every month. When you protect your progress, you give yourself the space to grow without constantly battling the chaos of old habits. You will need these guardrails too, especially when the journey starts getting challenging. Networking became another game changer. I started connecting with people who shared my vision, attending meetups, and participating in online communities. I discovered that when you surround yourself with like-minded individuals, opportunities multiply. Conversations turn into collaborations, advice turns into action, and your mindset evolves faster than you ever imagined. You are the average of the people you spend the most time with, and when you choose wisely, you accelerate your journey exponentially. I also embraced the long-term power of compound interest, both in finances and in personal growth. It's tempting to seek instant gratification, but wealth, like mastery, is built over time. Small daily actions, when repeated consistently, become unstoppable forces. Saving $10 a day, learning for 30 minutes a day, making incremental improvements, all of it adds up in ways that shock you when you look back. You may not feel rich today, but every consistent action plants seeds for tomorrow's abundance. By this point, the transformation was undeniable. The fear that once ruled me was gone. My mindset had evolved from scarcity to opportunity, from hesitation to action, from doubt to confidence. And with this transformation, I began seeing results, not just in my bank account, but in my sense of possibility. I had built momentum, and momentum, my friend, is unstoppable. The middle of this journey, the real turning point, was realizing that financial freedom isn't about luck, privilege, or timing. It's about action, consistency, and mindset. When you apply the principles of the 10 steps to financial freedom before 30, when you commit to small, daily actions, the transformation becomes inevitable. You start to see doors open where none existed, to feel control where chaos once reigned, and to experience freedom that feels almost unreal at first. And now, as I continued down this path, I began to see that the person I had once been, stressed, anxious, trapped by debt, was fading away. In its place was someone capable, strategic, and relentless. Someone who could take calculated risks, who could build multiple income streams, who could confidently make decisions that created wealth and opportunity. And that someone can be you too. You just need to take the steps, follow the process, and trust that the journey, though challenging, is worth every ounce of effort. By the time I entered this phase of transformation, I had already shed the habits and mindset that kept me trapped. You know the feeling when you realize that fear no longer dictates your actions, that you are the captain of your own ship. That clarity is electrifying. Every decision I made now carried purpose, and every action built momentum toward the life I had envisioned years ago in that tiny apartment. And here's the truth, you can feel that too, if you commit fully. I focused on scaling my income and expanding my financial toolkit. The side hustles that once seemed like experiments had matured into reliable streams of income. I diversified investments, exploring stocks, index funds, and even small business opportunities. The principle was simple: don't rely on one source, because freedom is built on flexibility and security. I allocated resources strategically, reinvesting gains instead of spending them impulsively. You need to understand that each dollar can be a soldier fighting for your future. Use it wisely. At this stage, mindset and discipline were everything. I built systems that made saving and investing automatic. Bills were paid without worry, contributions to savings and investments were consistent, and I monitored progress religiously. You'll find that systems create freedom in ways sheer willpower cannot. When you remove friction and automate good habits, you free mental energy for creativity, growth, and opportunity. That's a game changer. Networking continued to accelerate my journey. Mentorships and peer groups exposed me to strategies I hadn't considered, opportunities one couldn't have discovered alone, and insights that shaped my decisions. You must remember, your network can either limit you or propel you forward. Surround yourself with people who challenge you, inspire you, and hold you accountable. That environment is what makes the difference between stagnant effort and unstoppable growth. At the same time, I refined my skills and expanded my knowledge relentlessly. Courses, books, podcasts, and conversations, all of it became part of my daily diet. Growth isn't accidental, it's intentional. You can't reach financial freedom without expanding your capacity to earn, to manage, and to create. Knowledge compounds just like money. The more you acquire, the more capable you become of spotting opportunities and making confident decisions. And then came the moment that made all the struggle worthwhile. I looked at my finances and realized I had broken free from the cycle of living paycheck to paycheck. My debts were gone, my investments were growing steadily, and I had multiple streams of income generating momentum. I felt a profound sense of empowerment, a clarity that I could navigate life without fear of financial collapse. You can reach that point too, but it demands patience, consistency, and unwavering commitment to your plan. The final steps in my journey, the last pieces of the 10 steps to financial freedom before 30, focused on sustaining growth and creating lasting freedom. I built passive income streams, optimized my investments, and continued learning to stay ahead. I embraced challenges, viewed failures as lessons, and refined my strategies continually. You must do the same. Freedom is not a single achievement, it's a lifestyle built on persistent action, intelligent decision-making, and relentless self-improvement. I also realized the importance of giving back. Wealth isn't just about accumulation, it's about influence, impact, and creating opportunities for others. By mentoring friends, sharing knowledge, and investing in causes I cared about, I experienced fulfillment that money alone cannot provide. You'll find that true freedom extends beyond your bank account. It touches your life, your relationships, and the community you build around yourself. By now, the transformation was undeniable. The person I had been, anxious, uncertain, and trapped, was gone. In its place stood someone who had built control, confidence, and wealth from scratch. And that's the message I want you to carry. If you follow the principles, if you take consistent, purposeful action, you can do the same. Your financial freedom isn't just a dream, it's a choice waiting for you to make it real. Imagine your life after all the steps. Bills no longer dominate your thoughts, stress about money is replaced by strategy, and each day carries the confidence that comes from knowing you are building a secure, abundant future. You have options, you have power, and you have the freedom to design your life. That is the essence of the 10 steps to financial freedom before 30. They are not a shortcut, they are a roadmap. Follow it, adapt it, and commit to it relentlessly. And finally, I want you to remember this: the journey will challenge you, it will test you, and sometimes it will push you to the edge. But when you persevere, when you act despite fear, when you choose learning over excuses, and when you align your actions with your vision, you will reach a level of financial freedom and personal empowerment that few ever experience. You can do this. You have the ability, the intelligence, and the drive. The life you dream of is waiting. Take it, step by step, and make it yours. The transformation is complete, and it starts with the first action you take today. Each decision, each small improvement, each moment of persistence brings you closer to the life you deserve. And the best part? Once you taste freedom, once you feel control and empowerment, you'll know that all the struggle, all the effort, all the late nights were worth it. You've built not just wealth, but freedom, confidence, and the power to create a life on your own terms. Your journey begins now. Take the first step, commit fully, and embrace the 10 steps to financial freedom before 30. The future is yours to design, and every action you take today compounds into the freedom you'll enjoy tomorrow.